He knew he lost, and he said it anyway. Under oath, Special Counsel Jack Smith confirms what millions suspected. Trump knew the election wasn't stolen, and Congress forced the truth into the open.
California is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Smith, for joining us. You know, most people are wondering why you are even here today. But it's because we've heard conspiracy after conspiracy that the 2020 election was rigged, and Capitol Police officers were harmed and died because of those conspiracies. And we have important elections coming up, and the people want them to happen, and they want them to be fair. And the one person who should be telling the truth about elections is the president. But Donald Trump has not and is still not telling the truth about the 2020 elections. In fact, there is a January 6th page on the taxpayer-funded White House website that says the election was stolen from Trump, a blatant, disproven lie he knows is totally false. So one of my Republican colleagues earlier brought up Trump's mind state, that he knew he lost and he knew that what he was saying was untrue, but that you had no proof. So, Mr. Smith, what evidence did you develop to suggest Trump knew he had lost the 2020 election?
We had evidence from a variety of sources, evidence from people who were close to Donald Trump and who he relied on, people who wanted him to win the election, people who were employed by his campaign to help him win the election. Our evidence is that this was a conspiracy and that Donald Trump specifically sought to prey on party loyalty. Our investigation involved interviewing and subpoenaing records of Republicans because that's who Donald Trump sought to prey on to stay in office. And the reality is certain people refused to do that. The vice president refused to go along with that. People in various states' legislatures refused to go along with that. And the reality is that if we took this case to trial, a good number of our witnesses would be Republicans. If a Democrat had committed these crimes, had done these things, I would have subpoenaed a number of Democrats. I would have subpoenaed their records.
And I'm going to ask you about that. But correct, it's not like he was calling Nancy Pelosi. So why is it legally important to know that Trump knew he was lying when he said the election was stolen?
That was part of our proof at trial, and it was relevant to the charges, specifically to the first charge, to defraud the United States. It is permissible for someone to lie, but when they use speech to commit a crime, to facilitate a crime, that is not protected by the First Amendment. The Supreme Court has been very clear on that, and this very issue was litigated in the case. The defense raised this very issue. And one thing I want to be clear about today, the case that I investigated and the case we had, it was built to be tried in a courtroom, not in the media. Our case was built to withstand the crucible of litigation, and our assessment was that we had proof beyond a reasonable doubt that would do that.
So what I heard you say is that when you lie, and you know you're lying, and then you act on that lie to overturn the democratic process, that is a felony. A January 6er actually said, if I can't trust him, then who can I trust? Exactly. You know, we cannot even trust our own president. And in fact, there's so many other things that you can say that you're not allowed to say because a Trump-appointed judge sealed the documents, refusing to release the files yet again, which is why we could probably ask you far more questions if those were unsealed. So I know I don't have that much time. I want to now shift to these allegations from my Republican colleagues about the collection of phone records of Republican senators. I guess some of the ones that were trying to get $500,000 of taxpayer dollars. So many of the phone records of members were requested before you were appointed as special counsel, yes or no? That's true? Is that accurate?
Yes,
yeah.
Some subpoenas occurred before I was special counsel.
And what do you say to those who claim you chose to target Republicans because you only collected phone records for Republicans?
The conspiracy I was investigating targeted Republicans.
Right.
As I mentioned earlier.
That's right. And so you would have requested any relevant call records necessary for your investigation of a Republican or of a Democrat?
That's correct. And to be clear, if a Democrat committed these acts, we would have sought those. I could have just add one thing. We interviewed Rudy Giuliani in the course of this investigation, and we asked him, why did you, in one of the voicemails he left for the senator, mention the fact that it was Republicans that you were reaching out to. And he said, because the Democrats weren't going to help us, and even some Republicans wouldn't help us. And so our evidence showed repeatedly that the plan was to see if you could prey on people's party loyalty.
Some of the gentlelady's expired. The gentlelady from...
Thank you, I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back.
This exchange cuts straight through the noise. Jack Smith doesn't speculate. He lays out evidence from Trump's own allies, his campaign staff, Republican officials, and senior advisors who told him there was no fraud, over and over again. Yet Trump pushed the lie anyway. Why does that matter? Because, as Smith explains, lying is not illegal, but using lies to commit a crime is. When falsehoods are weaponized to overturn a democratic election, they cross from speech into criminal conduct. And here's the most damning part. The witnesses weren't Democrats. They were Republicans. Vice President Pence refused. State legislators refused. DOJ officials refused. Trump knew the truth and tried to override it by preying on party loyalty. This wasn't politics. It was a calculated attempt to cling to power. And for the first time, in plain language, a special counsel told Congress exactly why. Trump knew he was lying isn't an opinion, it's evidence.